Trustee Tarno, can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Very
Yes,
good.
Yeah.
Great.
All right, I will bring this meeting to order with the pledge. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
America.
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
for all.
Thanks, everyone. Great. Roll call. Mayor Sven, I'm here. Mayor Pro Tem Stelter.
Here.
Trustee Majorado. Trustee Check.
Here.
Trustee Hunter. Here. Trustee Heck. Trustee Tarno.
Here.
You have a quorum. Thank you. But would someone like to make a motion to approve the agenda, or does anyone have any changes they'd like to propose? I move to approve the agenda.
A second.
Okay, all in favor?
I.
You. Announcements. We have two announcements. The town is accepting applications for an open seat. We only have one now. On the zoning board of adjustments. The appointment is for a 3-year term. The zoning board of adjustments only meets when it is when there is a public hearing for the board. You do not need to be a town resident to serve on the ZBA. Please have applications into the town clerk by February 18th, 2026 at noon. And the other announcement is that town hall will be closed in observance of President's Day on Monday, February 16th, 2026. And this is the time when anyone in audience or on Zoom would like to make a public comment. This can be a comment on anything not on tonight's agenda, and you're given 3 minutes to do so. Would anyone in the room like to make a public comment for 3 minutes? Okay, thank you. And anybody on Zoom? I don't see any hands. No hands. Okay, thank you. Then we'll move on to the consent agenda, which consists of the January 27th, 2026 regular board meeting minutes, the retail marijuana license renewal, North Fork Curators LLC, DBA Jimmy's Joint, and the February 10th, 2026 disbursements. I'll open it up to questions from the trustees if you have any. Yes. Trustee Hunter, and then I'll, yeah.
I just had a couple questions on disbursements.
Mhm.
What is Salt Lake Wholesale Sports? Curious about that one.
Gosh. I'm trying to move away.
Oh, that is,
Yeah.
ammo. It's rifle ammo.
Okay.
Other questions?
Let's see, the payroll reconciliation at the end that's noted.
My salary increase didn't make it in, and my salary treated like other employees who get it now. So that's kind of what that was.
That was the merit increase.
Right.
Yes.
It was $152.
Oh, no, this is a different one. Here, let's go to the end of it.
At the end,
It's a bigger, it's not, yours is coming.
12/20/90.
12/24/9.
Oh, that was for another employee that should have had a salary increase in November. We're catching it up.
So yours will show up in the next disbursements,
Yeah.
your prior increase payments, which is quite a bit less.
A lot less.
Than this year. So I'm glad you clarified that now. Okay. Any other questions on disbursements?
My only other question, I will tell you at a later item.
Oh, okay. And so I asked Clerk Better, which she gave us some of the information that I had asked about. And so we have copies of it. And if you'd like to just do a quick descriptor, that would be great. Thank you.
I apologize that we didn't have the receipt in there for the payment made. The other part of it, though, Deputy Clerk Santiago and I had intended to explain to you in person, because I don't know if you guys remember how different Jimmy's Joint was when it started. So if you'll remember, they got their state license quite a bit early. You guys approved a conditional license at the end of 2023. And they didn't actually receive that license from me until September of 2024, when they opened, because I had to do the final inspection. And you'll also see that it's late, and that's kind of a mix of two things. And one of them is that the state is now moving over to full year licensing. And we still do annual licensing. We haven't gotten far enough to look at that. Instead of doing a renewal every 1 year with the state, you do it every 2 years now. And because their state and their local renewals didn't line up because of that whole thing, it kind of got lost in the mix. So that's why you're seeing it a little bit late. Their state stuff is still solid. The only thing they're out of touch on is their local license. So we're just trying to get that fixed now. They haven't had any changes. They haven't reported any major changes. And as Deputy Clerk Santiago's report says, they've met all the legal requirements, including payments, and nobody, Public Works, PD, and administration, nobody has any issues with the renewal of their license. So I understand it looks really weird, but we did talk today about how I'm gonna come up with a local license application, since the state has done this for both liquor and marijuana for those renewals, until we can get either synced up to the dual year or not. So then that way we have something, because we always just use the state's paperwork. So it either comes to us first, but marijuana, they send it to us, which they didn't do because they're not looking at a license renewal yet, so. But that's why everything looks kind of crazy in there, but they are in compliance with everything they need, other than needing to have their local license renewed.
Any questions for the clerk? Okay. And trustee Torno,
Yes.
I'm wondering what's the easiest way for you to be able to just, enter into the conversation. Do you want to put your hand up, or would you like me just to try to remember to refer to you to say, do you have any comments or questions?
No, I think it worked fine last time. I just put my hand up.
Okay.
I'm gonna try it right now to make sure. Yeah, there it is. Okay. All right,
Good.
I'll do that when I need to. Thank you.
Excellent. I just don't want to bypass you because you're not sitting in your normal seat. Thank you.
That's good. I don't think I have a lot for this evening anyway, so don't worry if I'm quiet.
Okay, very good. Thank you. So with that, would someone like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Wait a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes. Moving along to staff reports. We'll start with the town administrator.
So what's in front of you is our budget to actuals. That's where I typically put our monthly budget to actuals. Didn't get into this agenda packet, took Friday off. So presenting it to you tonight, and then it'll be in an amended packet. I also owe you a town administrator report. I was working on that this evening. It will definitely be at our next meeting, because we are getting ready to ramp up with a lot of construction projects. And we did have a meeting today about another grant opportunity through CDLE for
CDLE.
labor and something, and
Enforcement.
no, because they also kind of work in tangent. Yes, when you have unemployment claims, this is who you go to, but they do more than that. Okay?
Oh, okay.
Department of Labor and Employment. But for wastewater projects. So, this is the most up to date as far as bank accounts are concerned. So what you see, it was updated yesterday. So that is actual money in the bank, as well as actual money in College Trust. We have put in for additional grant reimbursements, but we've yet to receive them. So once we do receive them, I update this spreadsheet, and then it also gets updated on each schedule for within the general fund. You can see that we've started to receive some general fund revenue. I can tell you that we're probably going to see property taxes soon, because I got paid, half of mine got paid already, like this week or last week. So that tells me that we're going to start seeing that rolling in from the county. Our sales tax is doing pretty good. I mean, we already have received in just under $46,000 in 1 month. I'd say we're right on target for being what we budgeted for. Our expenditures, and just so you know, at the bottom, I do like a net surplus or loss within the general fund. To date, we are still positive. We're seeing a surplus, meaning our revenues are outpacing our expenditures. That's going to fluctuate all throughout the year, but we're seeing a positive, $122,364.67. That does not include the sales tax capital improvement funds. That's going to be shown on another schedule. Here's that other schedule. So we have separated our general fund revenue from like the things that we've earmarked or that we've restricted the use for. And we've also put that revenue on this schedule. So the top is the revenue that comes in. You'll notice that, and I'll continue to say this every month, 223106 marijuana occupational tax. As of January 1st, that no longer goes into a sales tax capital improvement fund or the street capital improvement fund. It now goes to the general fund. And we've relied on that to help balance our budget. But it's still there. It's still at the top until it gets removed. I just want you to see that we are not doing anything with that this year. It's already accounted for in the general fund. The sidewalk fee is posted on this one. Conservation Trust Fund, we haven't received anything yet. We typically see that at the end of March. So that's coming. You'll see that the sales tax capital improvement plan, that is that 1% sales tax. And so it's not what goes into the general fund. It is what is restricted use. And so we're showing it on a different schedule. We started this the fourth quarter of 25, and it's just a better way to continue moving forward. I really want to be able to show, actually, no, we didn't. This was done with our fiscal year 26 budget. And so this is still relatively new to being presented. It's a better way of showing that we're being really good stewards of what's happening with our finances. We're putting them, in the correct pots. And then you'll see these capital outlays. So I've developed the schedule so it automatically updates as I update other schedules for departments. It'll automatically update expenditures that are in the capital outlay category within the CIP expenditures.
Can you explain whether in parentheses?
They are expenses. So I've kind of done this one a little bit backwards because typically you put revenue in parentheses, but I wanted to show that it's subtracting, meaning it's negative. And so that's why this one is presented. It's for ease of understanding, where typically in the accounting world, you put revenue in parentheses. Yes.
So maybe explain, so you have the 93,000 in parentheses, which means it is money that is going to be spent throughout this fiscal year.
Okay, where are you? Yes. So that is the expenditures, and here for that one, it's capital outlay administration. So 93,000, remember that number. Here's the actual admin schedule. If you look at the bottom for capital outlay.
And where are you? Are you going?
This is now on page. I went next page. And then the next page. And now at the bottom.
Okay, and you're where now?
If you look all the way down at the bottom, you'll see that that's 93,000. It's made up of building improvements, machinery and equipment, grant project code revision, and transfers.
Okay.
That 93,000 matches what's on our sales tax capital improvement side of things.
So then the 6818, which matches on this same page, is saying that you have spent, the town has spent $6,618 as of this year. At the end of January.
Correct. And I believe that was for desks and then also a Verkada camera.
And the only reason I bring it up is I'm used to seeing, I don't know whether it's the right GFAO, but negative being in the parentheses. Sort of, if it's in a negative number, it's parenthetical.
Yeah, so when it's
That's why I'm asking.
When it's in parentheses, it's typically revenue. And then an expenditure has no parentheses. So that's typical accounting. I flipped it because for that exact reason, right? You want to see that an expenditure is negative, and we know that by that Excel formula, it is negative. So it's kind of counterintuitive. But that's why it's That's
Thank
why I've
you
done that,
for
yeah.
that explanation, because it could be quite confusing.
It could be.
Yeah, but thank you.
But when you're looking at this document as a whole, right, so you take your revenue, you subtract it by the expenditures that are shown on the second page, and then that third page shows us how much we actually have available to spend, right? And so this is a fund balance. This is our restricted, and so all of these capital improvement, funds are restricted, meaning that they have specific purposes that we can spend funds on. Sidewalks, we can only do sidewalks, right? Our conservation trust fund, it's prescriptive by statute, what we can do. Colorado statute, can only go towards parks. And so that's why we're showing this in this kind of a balance sheet. This schedule here takes those revenues, subtracts out the expenditures, and then gives you a restricted fund balance ending. So we have a beginning balance as of the end of last year. And then as we're spending things or bringing revenue in, that this will be automatically updated as well.
So can I just ask you to do one thing?
Sure.
So on that first one for the general fund CIP, the first number under adopted budget is 13,400. And that was the intended spending, but we actually have spent 17,480. Okay. And
Well, and so let me back up on that one. Some of those expenditures that came out of for cameras were booked to this year. That'll probably get cleaned up as we close out next year. And so those numbers will come down.
okay. Am I the only one with questions? Anybody else have questions on this? Just me. Okay.
So you'll also see in like the street fund CIP that it looks like we're negative. We haven't booked any HUTF revenue yet. We typically get that quarterly, and we haven't gotten any yet. So that's that highway user tax fund that goes into that. So we haven't seen that revenue come in. That's why it looks like we're negative. But we're not, because we actually have fund balance that we can spend from, and we've budgeted for those amounts. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And-
I get it.
Okay, and then Mayor, to be clear, that 13,400 actually isn't what we budgeted for. That's the net surplus we were planning to have at the end of the year.
Oh.
So
At the end of the previous year.
the end of this year. That top line is the end of what we're planning.
2026?
Correct. And as of right now, we're actually above that. If you want to look at expenditures, you've got to look at this page. And you can see what was in the left column is what was budgeted for expenditures. And what is in the right column is what is
Hang on.
actual.
So what is in the left column? Say that again, I'm sorry.
Okay, so if you go down to subgroup CIP expenditures, general fund CIP, we've budgeted for $264,100 to be spent this year.
Okay,
And right next to it, you see that we've only spent $6,818.02. And then the next one says we're gonna spend, about $472,000 in street, but we've only spent $17,550. So if you really want to match up expenditures, you look at that section. If you want to look at revenues, you'll look at that top section. If you want to look at fund balance, you'll look at this fund section.
thanks.
It's
I always like it in English. Thank
yeah,
you.
so to put it plainly, it's how we know what pot of money and how much is in there, right? So what, each pot has a restricted use, and we know what's in it. Admin was kind of shown, like all of the general funds already kind of shown on those front pages for general fund revenue, because it shows that we had a surplus of revenue to expenditures. What I'll go to now, unless there's any questions on those, is water, wastewater, and trash.
Hang on, let's get there.
Oh, no. Okay, I'm gonna have to give you guys a different packet because it's cut off the actual when I went to print it as a PDF. But I can tell you that we still have a surplus in water. Let's see.
Wait a minute, what was cut off? The whole column.
the whole column for actual.
Oh, so on the right hand
Yeah.
margin, I'm sorry, I was looking at the bottom.
Yeah, it says,
Mhm.
now sewer, now we're back to, see, that's what it should look like for
Yeah.
water. I just had my print area on that one a little off, so I'll fix that. But we're okay.
Mhm.
We actually have a little over $500,000 surplus in revenue we've brought in compared to expenditures this year because we received grant reimbursements this year as opposed to last year. Even though we put them in for last year, we didn't receive them until like last week. So, some things take some time. That's why we do budget amendments and, that's why we ended fiscal year 25 with budget. So wastewater, we're pretty healthy. We're like right on target for spending. We're seeing pretty good revenues come in. And then you'll see down here, as of right now, January 31st, we are still operating with a net income of $19,153.59. So the good news is our revenue is outpacing our expenditures. That's going to change because they haven't, operating costs haven't caught up yet, right? Utilities have been updated, or we've been paying utility bills. But like, as the year goes on, vehicles always need maintenance. There are things that'll come up. So that number will come a lot closer, unfortunately. We did receive our trash cans, and so they're in. We're gonna be on schedule for a second quarter rollout. But we haven't booked that invoice yet, or that expenditure, because we haven't been invoiced for it yet. But that'll be a whole rollout plan. We may talk about it next meeting. It might be the first meeting in March, but it's coming because we did receive those. Sanitation has always kind of been our problem child, and that's the whole reason for getting standardized cans. One, it'll be hopefully easier to manage the program out in the field, and also it'll be easier for us to hold people accountable for what they're using. Instead of just having a single can and maybe having 4 cans out, we'll be able to know you've got a single can because you've got the smaller 35-gallon trash can. And if there's additional items out, like 4 or 5 bags of garbage, well, then, we have to charge for that because they're getting a reduced rate. And if it happens multiple times, we'll probably ask them to upgrade to a larger can. But you can see that our revenue and our expenditures, again, with this one, revenue is outpacing expenditures, but we still don't have our invoice for those garbage cans yet. So it won't be like that next month, unfortunately. But we still have fund balance. So we're still not deficit spending. We're not putting things on credit. We're okay as far as our fund balance is concerned. And by what we budgeted. We have, see this one cut off too. We've received about 700 and some change in the airport fund from revenue. That's that lease that we have on the tower that the county takes a portion and we take what's left. So we're right on track with being there for revenue. I did get with did send the county engineer another email about repair work that was supposed to be done last year that didn't get done. There's some things that had to happen, like the engineer for all the airfields had to go out to bid, rebid. His contract ran out, and I don't know where they're at. I haven't gotten an update from them. But that's
Is that the contract for the apron?
no. This is the contract for their engineer of record for all of the airports in the county.
Oh.
And so something happened, something lapsed, and they went out to RFQ, and I haven't heard anything back yet.
Like the equivalent to our SGM,
Correct.
being our town
Yes.
engineer. Thank
Well,
you.
we have
Two.
3.
What? Three.
Right water engineering.
Oh, well, but I'm saying SGM is who we go to for miscellaneous things, not just a contract related thing, but if something came up, we would ask them. They're our contract
Yeah.
engineer for roads or.
We have 2 engineers of record with 2 master services agreements. You're right, SGM. They're doing our 2 million gallon water tank. We're also doing Fifth and Grand. So road work, and then we also have Respec, who is designing the rest of our water capital improvement.
Great. I mean, I just wanted people to understand that we don't have an in-house engineer, but we rely on SGM at this point if something comes up outside of all those big projects. And am I saying that correctly?
You're right.
Okay.
Yeah, well, depending on the scope of services that we have in that master services agreement, it would maybe more appropriate to go to SGM, maybe more appropriate to go to Respec.
Right, but in either case, we have a hydrology standing engineer and a engineer that does everything else.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I just want people to understand, because we don't have in-house engineers. We don't have the money nor the, the ability to have an in-house engineer. So we have a contract engineer that serves as our in-house, two contract engineers. that
Right.
Serve as our in-house and get you safe.
Even-
Oh, is it Karen? Yes. Okay. Hang on, Karen.
Even though,
Or
we-
Trustee Torno, sorry.
even though even though we don't have an in-house engineer, we are doing because we're too small, we are doing the same amount of projects as a community that would have an in-house engineer who would still outsource design work to appropriate firms. We are still doing just as many projects as some of those communities.
Yeah, I wasn't intimating that we were, that we have to have someone we can call out of the blue when something comes up that's outside of everything else that we are managing. Right. Something new. And Trustee Torno, go ahead.
So I just had a question of backing up a little bit. I believe I heard that in the next meeting or two, we might have a briefing on the trash can rollout plan. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. I was curious if that is, and if you anticipate that being an opportunity for public comment or input, or is it a presentation and the plan will be done? I'm just seeing that as an effort that is going to raise a lot of questions, going to take people some time to understand what's going on. And so, yeah, I'm just wondering if there's going to be opportunity for public comment that might, contribute to your thinking around the rollout plan.
Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll present through one of our staff reports, either mine or Nikki's, we'll present a plan for rolling those cans out. It will be a plan, and then if there's any questions, we're happy to take them. But know that rollout really falls on staff, and there might be some that come back that we might not be able to do. But we will do our best to give a good communication plan and, show what's, how to make this work.
Great. Okay, thank you.
That's it.
You're done? Okay. Anybody else have any questions for the administrator?
Oh, I do
Okay.
have one more thing.
Mhm.
So, March 4th, rulemaking. Yeah, so March 4th, we did put out a protest to CDPHE for how water is measured and diverted, raw water is measured and diverted. We have a really complicated system, and so we were one of only 2 water utilities on the western slope to put in, a protest on that rulemaking. We had a meeting with the state, with CDPHE through NSW, our attorney, Bill Wambacher, and then 2 of our engineers, Doug Schwenke with Respec, and then also Jonathan Kelly with Wright Water Engineering, to talk with CDPHE staff members about, how it will affect us with 24 consecutive water systems that we deliver water to, but also 24 spring complexes that all draw from springs. And the way the rules were written almost seemed like it didn't take into account how communities that get water from springs. And so that's why we're meeting with them about this rulemaking decision. And they're taking the approach that we're not changing the rule, but there will be exceptions to an agreement with communities that are affected, like us. And so that's kind of where that discussion will start. That is on March 4th, and it isn't open to the public. It is just between us and the engineers.
Chief Laminger.
Okay, so for January, Department and other local law enforcement agencies met with administrative members of the Delta County School District to discuss school safety. This is a meeting where we get to meet with them, talk about some of the drills they have, and really introduce them to new officers in the department, our school resource officers, and kind of discuss how the previous year was, what kind of changes we're looking to make. It's a very beneficial meeting, so we're very happy to meet with them annually each year, especially early. We also began a lot of the code enforcement program. Policies are being reviewed, process is being developed. That's going to kind of grow as we move through the year. Code enforcement will continue to be community driven. And this particular program utilizes post-certified officer to conduct code enforcement. And they're going to work in collaboration with the clerk's office and the town administrator. So it's kind of all of us working on that together, and it'll grow. So far, the rollout's going okay. And we'll continue to kind of adapt as it moves. Officer Heidegger successfully completed his police training officer certification. The certification allows Officer Heidegger to be integrated into our department's officer training program as a field training officer. This will be valuable for us as a department, especially as we look to become fully staffed in the first quarter. This is something that was a very high priority for us as we worked through the budget process last year. We kind of started working on that code enforcement position and being post certified. We needed to add some more training officers within our department. So I'm very happy that he was able to take that on and successfully complete that. And the last thing I have here is we're working to review all municipal court penalties to comply with the recent state Supreme Court ruling. Colorado Municipal League brief is attached for an explanation of changes. I include that so they do a much better job, a much cleaner job of explaining what went on. Really, the most important part of that's that second paragraph. What we've done currently is our municipal judge, Judge Huffman, has already changed her advisement so that we're covered with that, and none of our penalties will exceed state penalties. And she's making that clear to them when they come to court. I bring this to your attention because in the future, we may look at changing some verbiage in our code that would more align with what that brief is stating. But for right now, she's updated her advisement for.
Does our fee schedule, will this affect the town's fee schedule at all? So we'll have to bring that back. That's an ordinance or a resolution that will have to change.
Yeah, so it's not, I'm gonna sneeze, I'm sorry.
Bless you.
But there's a fee resolution, but also because it's police, related, it'll also be actual ordinance changes in our code. So it's not just changing the fee resolution, because the fee resolution actually cites different Paonia municipal code in it. So we'll also have to change that municipal code.
Yeah, a lot of our statutes refer to general penalty. Now, the way our general penalty is worded is it's up to, so it really gives her discretion. So that's why it was important for us to update that advice. She can go up to a certain level, but she's aware of this ruling now, so that we're not exceeding any of the state rules on those penalties.
One last question. Do you see the ordinance and the resolution being done simultaneously?
Ordinance and then resolution,
Okay, but shortly thereafter, because,
mostly.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, and I think the other important part to come out of this is that we are in front of this now, so that's good. We'll work through that.
Trustee Tarno, I see your hand up. Go ahead.
Yes, it is. Regarding the code enforcement program, what is a post certified officer, and how does what you've described here relate to? I believe there was a position in the 2026 budget, and so how does it relate to that position, or am I mistaken about that?
Yeah, so post is the police officer standards, kind of a governing board for law enforcement officers in the state of Colorado. The reason that position is post certified is because of the way that position was introduced and kind of the workload that was involved with that position. Given that it wasn't 100% code enforcement, it's a roughly 70% law enforcement, 30% code enforcement. It was important that officer be post certified so that he can also carry out the duties of a certified police officer for the town. Does that clarify that?
Yeah, and then the other part of her question was, how are we filling that role?
Yeah, so the discussion we had early on in the year and really towards the end of last year was, in order to bring on a new certified officer into that code enforcement role, we were gonna be tasking them with not only going through the field training officer, the FTO program, and learning our policies and procedures as an officer, but also handing them a brand new program with the town of code enforcement. So what we opted to do was take an officer that currently works for us, move him into that code enforcement role so that we could roll out that program starting early this year, which we already have gotten that going. And that way we weren't overwhelming a new officer with tasks and learning, scoring. As he was just trying to get his feet under him, learn the radio and everything that goes on with being a police officer. I see that position already through the first couple of weeks of the year becoming extremely valuable for each person. And what I may look at doing as we move forward with this program is creating sort of a revolving position there so that every officer is required to at some point transition into that code enforcement role for a certain time. Finding the officer who's a part of that now is becoming very, very aware of what's going on with code enforcement. They're getting to dig into our code, things that we hadn't typically used or read through. He's getting to look into. He's noticing a lot of things that need updated, but he's also becoming a much more well-rounded officer now.
That's great. Yeah, I think that sounds like a really smart approach. I'm curious if there are code enforcement actions, are those going to be included in the blotter or somehow reported out to the board or the community?
Most of those would show up. We have a line item for some of the fines that are associated with it, but a lot of our code enforcement is going to refer back to our general penalty again, like a lot of our municipal ordinances do.
Okay.
There may be a way for us to add some of that. I probably work with the clerk's office on figuring something like that out.
So we haven't used the module yet, but through our community development module with our Cassell, we can start logging code enforcement actions. Trustee Tarnow, we're not there yet. But I think it's something that we could maybe go to, so you're not always inundating your CAD system. But it's something we can go towards.
Trustee Tarnow, you were wondering if maybe there's some kind of a report out, not so much by address, but what kind of code enforcement has been taking place? What is the subject matter of the code enforcement? Is that what you meant?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, in one sense, I think it would be educational to the community to understand, what are code violations and what should they be paying attention to that maybe they haven't already. So I do think there is a public interest in it, and it could be educational for the community.
And that's what I thought you meant, and more of kind of a running tally, not by address, no one
Sure.
address, but just let us know what they tend to be.
Yeah, absolutely. We're tracking that internally right now because it was important. Anytime you roll out a program, we need a metric to understand, is it working? Is it not? Are we making progress? Or are we not? But there's certainly a way for us to bring that more public facing as we get it developed.
What I put up on the screen for everybody to see is what our ERP system Cassell looks like for the community development module, and then the code violation section. We haven't built this out yet, but what we could do is start doing a monthly report that just shows, it's dog off leash or fires in front of, I don't know, something, right? Those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm. That'd be great. I think it's worth thinking about.
Yeah.
Thank you. Trustee Hunter?
So Chief, on the blotter that you have where all the code enforcement contacts are listed, those are all complaint driven?
Yes, almost all of those are complaint driven. And this kind of leads into what we're talking about now. You'll notice that given that it's in the blotter, we're using our CAD system to write reports on that. I really think as this program evolves, that we should be looking at developing a better way than that. Generating reports and going in and writing reports to this system is very time intensive. So if we go out and do 6 or 7 code enforcement checks in an evening, that's tremendous amount of paper. Using this system, and I think we can establish a better way to log that. And at the same time, document what we're doing for our municipal court, than this, but for right now, this is what we're using so we can track what we have on.
Another question. So I do pay attention to the blotter every month that you included, and it seems that, you know, arrests and citations typically total about 5% of total contacts, which personally I think is great. Is that pretty standard for a community of this size?
It really depends.
Yeah.
Arrests and citations, you'll tend to see a bit of an ebb and flow, especially given the way we have. You'll notice each year I try to give you a report on around our festivals and our holidays, given the amount of people we have in town. And so that will kind of climb. I think as far as establishing a pattern, it's hard to say. It also kind of depends on your staffing levels at the time. Are we heavy on staff, particularly early in the mornings when we have a lot of traffic on the road? That 3 to 6 o'clock hour in the evening, when we're running a lot of traffic, we're spending more time school zone. That will dictate really whether we're writing more summonses, whether we have more goal arrest. DUI is the same thing. If we staff up for a holiday weekend, we tend to conduct more stops in the evening, which naturally leads to more DUIs, more arrests. It kind of flows with what we have going on.
Yes, what I saw in the budget that we have a total of 9 dog licenses issued so far. And I think that it would be good if the public was aware that is a code violation and they can be cited for it, taken to municipal court. And perhaps an enforcement action would be in the public's interest.
We may actually have more license that are showing in this report, only because we give a discount if they renew early. And so we had like a rush at the end of last year.
We're up to 45.
We're up to 45.
Yeah. Out of about 300, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's better than last
It
year.
is better than last year, so, but
Yeah, that kind of tracks with some of our code enforcement stuff, education over enforcement. Now, we are particularly, I would say since last spring, we are trending towards multiple warnings are now starting to receive citations into municipal court for dog large dog violation.
But one of the things that's really good is that's a great way to get your dog back, should it get away. My dog escaped and I got my dog back within a matter of about 20 minutes before I was even finished looking for him in the yard. So that's a really good thing for the dog too.
Chief Land Manager, did you have more you wanted to provide with your report? We sort of cut you off with our questions.
No, that was it. That the last part of that was our municipal code, municipal court changes. And like I said, I included that CML brief in there because CML did a really good job of explaining that so that we understand what's going on.
Okay, 1 second. Before I move on to Trustee Tarno, do you have any questions?
No.
Okay, Trustee Tarno, go ahead.
Yeah, my questions on the last couple topics really go to, thinking about the community, understanding what's going on and what to expect. I'm, reside in the town, obviously, and, I might have heard outside of my involvement in the board, I might have heard a little bit about the trash pickup changes. I don't know, unless I was very, very civic minded and following the board of trustees meetings, that I would know about the code enforcement activity. And I've just, I'm often find myself thinking about how would it be possible to keep the community more informed of, changes, good things, developments, and the like. my experience that I don't feel like would be privy to a lot of those things that are coming down the pike, were it not for my involvement on the board. And I don't know, and I might be missing something, and I don't know if the other trustees kind of have the same take on that. And I know it's more work to do the outreach and education, but I also think it helps bring the community along with us, and also helps the community feel some pride in the progress and forward momentum that's happening in the town.
Okay, thanks. Anybody, any trustees want to chime in on that? I might just say that it's part of that public outreach. You know, press releases are really helpful. And I don't know yet. And I think the administrator and I talk about those. So, you know, this trash
Yeah.
can probably a good press release. I don't, you know, look at Administrator Wynn to see if you think so too, and you could assign it to someone.
Yeah,
And if
so
that's how you were, I guess, how are you thinking of letting every trash customer know that they were gonna get the clean?
we're developing.
Okay,
So we'll discuss it, like, and we'll bring it up in another meeting.
Okay.
You know, it's not ready yet. We didn't know we were gonna get the cans yesterday, right? So.
And same with code enforcement, maybe some sort of a press release. I don't know what's best to do in the town of Bayonne. But some way of letting the in-town people know, whatever's the best communication way.
So I want to show you our Text My Gov platform. This is our dashboard. This is kind of what we see on an administrative level. You can see that we have sent 61,000 messages. And so, you know, that shows that there's quite a few people that are signed up for this program. Are we able to see how many people are signed up? I don't want to put phone numbers on the screen, but yeah, because it'll show individual phone numbers. But we do get, you know, that is one of the methods that we use. We'll probably do, getting ahead of myself, but it'll probably be a rolling basis rollout of cans, because we're not gonna be able to get all 580 customers like that, right? Or, you know, it's more customers than that, all 580 35-gallon can customers like that. It's gonna take some time to roll those things out. And so it'll probably be done by day, but again, that plan will come to you guys in the next couple of meetings. We'll push things out like we normally do. You know, we've been doing press releases, haven't done one yet this year, but I have now 3 on my list.
Well, I just want to say that when the trash rate went up and how to bundle, you know, when we changed the ordinance on trash, and you all did a quite impressive flyer, that got out. It seemed to me that made its way to a lot of people. But anyway, that was kind of the way to go. So I guess I have faith that we will see a good rollout, I guess is what I'm saying.
Right. And I think that messaging platform, I really appreciate that. And, you know, and the more that we get more interesting, useful information out on it, I think the more people are likely to sign up and follow it, or at least talk about what's going on. So maybe there are other opportunities, you know, in addition to or aside from press releases, to get more pertinent information out through the messaging.
People, if anybody goes to our website, you cannot help but see Text My Gov being advertised.
Right. Yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah, I mean, it's there, but the average person may not, you know, who's not already on it, it's not gonna go to our website. So again, word of mouth would help on that. I tell people how excellent it is. I find out so much. So, thanks.
We get complaints through Text My Gov.
Okay. If everybody is ready to move on to Public Works. Pass it on.
This is gonna be a budget amendment. Let's do it good.
Oh, gosh.
All right, so kicking off in January, the water team is working on installing a pilot program for the cellular reads for meters. So if this all goes well and we end up, we're moving towards the cellular read, that means nobody's driving around reading meters anymore. We're not spending 2-3 days driving by everybody's house exceptionally slow, or having to get out or go pop a lid and read a minute. So this is the pilot that they're doing. We have 10 meters to install, and we're gonna see how those work. working on that. The Stewart Ditch update, they are way more further along than this picture, but I thought this was a really good picture to kind of show what they're doing. So they had to cut out the road down to the culvert and slide these large HDPE pipes in there. They were waiting on DMEA when I wrote this report, so last week, DMEA was working on updating a transformer or some kind of box, so it was kind of at a standstill. But they should be, or they are much further along than this. Second Street water break, if you've driven down Second Street early this, or January, you noticed a giant water leak. This was in the main, it actually split the pipe all the way around the bottom like a U shape. So there's them digging what a water break looks like and how much water it can produce real fast, and the clamp we put on it to repair it.
Do you remember what your response time was on this one?
It was pretty quick. An individual called us directly, so it was pretty fast.
So, you know, our response time isn't days, it's hours at best, or very quick.
Within like 20 minutes.
So
They're close down.
I think that's important. I mean, it has to show where we've come, you know, what we've come.
We had another water break on Main Street, and this one's kind of hard to see, but because it was a video, so I took a screenshot. That water is shooting up and out of the image. There, yeah, right next to the tree, if you can see it. It was getting it. So that took an entire day, and the guys did a great job because where they were, the sun doesn't hit. So all of those trees froze over the top of them as well.
So where, was that water line in the alley?
No, so it's like right next to the senior center on Main was where they
I
were.
live there as well.
Well, it actually turned out to be, it was a homeowner's meter, or not meter technically. They had some plumbing to do, so they had it turned off. When they went to turn it back on, it busted. And then we found out that we had a valve in the main that needs fixing. So that's kind of where, it was a kind of a domino effect of what was going on. So they spent a whole day, but they hung in there. Poor Derek had to take the next day off. He was frozen. He had to go home, shower, warm up, come back. Yeah, so these guys did a great job on this break. It was cold.
So this was the one where we also had, I mean, you can see water shooting out of the ground.
Yeah.
So the text my gov messages that went out had to be corrected because of side of street at one point. But you can see when the information comes from the field, they're doing this, trying to get the messaging out. And so that's why we had to do a correction. I mean, that's.
It was cold. At wastewater, not a lot is going on, but we are installing a gate on the driveway, to help with trespassing. And they were able to get those posts concreted in the ground. And then the gate will be on their next report. Streets is killing it. They've been doing a lot of that winter work. We put up some pedestrian crossing signs. There's 2 new ones there at the top, and I put 4 and after at the bottom because they're getting old enough that the reflection's gone, they're cracked, peeling. So we were able to get those installed. Tree trimming, there's always tree trimming to do, but here was a good kind of before and after. Those branches were hitting trucks, so we were able to use the trash truck again as kind of a guide to cut those off. Yeah, I think that's our truck route, so we tried to get those just to make it safe so it stops hitting trucks. Parks, doing good. So nothing to report in January for parks.
So next one.
Trash, so the Delta Compost project is still kind of in a waiting game. We finally got a hold of them to get some dumpsters. We still don't know when they're arriving yet, but this is the banner holder that Lonnie has made, and it's humongous. And he did a great job, so we made sure that there were some hooks to, or I guess you can kind of see those little sliders on there, so we can put the banners to it. We still have a while before that goes up because we are trying to coordinate several concrete projects at the same time, so we use the same truck. So it's kind of in the waiting game, waiting for dumpsters and those concrete projects, but it's ready to go.
Can you tell me how many months has Lonnie been here?
Lonnie just did a 60-day review.
So he's already knocking things out,
Yeah.
and he was hired as our mechanic and.
And this picture also taken into consideration on my next one as well. We have done some shop cleaning like nobody's business. That metal rack that's right there that's laying horizontal used to be vertical and it was very unsafe. It wasn't chained off, it wasn't, it's just leaning against the wall. So he built a rack. We pulled everything off that wall, painted it because it was nasty. And he's built that within his first 30 days. So it kind of leads to the other projects. We had some training. The whole crew did a road maintenance training. I completed a CDOT training. And then we've been working on the shop rehab. We have some very dated, old, dirty shop areas that we were able to pull everything out, clean it, put it back. It has really helped even just the air conditioning in there. It's not as dusty. So it's really helped out. Lonnie's done a great job and Rodney's really been getting after the crew to keep things clean. That's kind of a before and after of that area.
I do gotta point out the pictures at the top. The guys find these in trash cans and they salvage them,
So
so.
that's not a picture of me there.
It's always fun to ask.
Yeah, my first time in the shop, I was like, who's grandma? I don't know. But she's gonna live forever. Yeah, so. So this is kind of the or like before pictures of the one before. All of that metal was just leaning against the wall, not chained up, not any of that kind of stuff. So that was that's how he built the rack. This one I'm actually super excited about. So Rodney has started doing a monthly or bi-monthly trainings where we actually go out and do it. So we have this hoist that we have for confined space, which was really good that this training that they're doing in the picture, they learned that once they start cranking someone up, it tips over. So that wouldn't have been so good if we were actually hauling somebody out of a hole. So they were able to remedy these issues that were going on. So that was a picture of the pit in the shop. They pulled Bailey and Dennis out. And I actually have a video if you can play it.
How do I play it?
I sent it to Top Meat.
Oh. Can you forward it, if you forward it to me,
It's about 2 minutes long, but it's a video of them doing this and it's fantastic and I can narrate it for you, but I'm super proud of them for doing it. Like, and they figured it out and they were able to fix all the things that would have gone horribly wrong if we just wouldn't have practiced this.
So I gotta tell you, all of our department heads, have really started a training regimen. The chief was already kind of on that. He has to be with his officers, but it's now gone around all of our departments. Sam has spearheaded some things with Sursa videos. Nikki and Rodney have really wanted to professionalize our team and making sure that when we get these Sursa audits, we're actually doing what they're telling us we need to do to reduce our right, to reduce our insurance premiums or at least mitigate our risk. And so these kinds of trainings, I don't think we've ever done. And so this is kind of new and it's needed for public works. Confined space is really important, especially when you saw how fast that water comes out of a hole, or out of a broken pipe, and they're down in a trench, right? So it's really important. And then you sent me a video. Okay, let's see.
She wants it, nothing percent acres.
Can't share the music or the sound.
Well, I can narrate it. So, we actually did a mock 911 call. I pretended to be dispatch. And off to the left there, Lonnie is calling 911. Bailey was in, this is a PRV vault that's up by Kirby Flock's house. So the scenario was she went down there, it busted, she was engulfed in water, hit her head, and then it led on from there. Now she's got a broken leg, all sorts of stuff. But that was the 911 call. We knew where Flight for Life needed to go, what the address was. We have like a hot works permit or a confined space permit that they have to fill out before they go in the hole. They built this kind of backboard thing because you hoist them up and then what do you do with them? You know, you can't just grab hold of them and pull. So they built that backboard to slide under and it's all got handles so they can haul her out. But as you can see, Lonnie's on the phone with me, but pretending to be 911. She had a neck injury. I also wish we would have filmed Dennis because he should win an Academy Award. He was in the hole and I just yelled down the hole. You slipped and broke your ankle and immediate resistance came on that line and he started screaming. And it was so good. We did have to give him a hard hat though, because he'll definitely play dead. But it was really good. So you can probably fast forward. It's just this. If you had volume, you could hear Lonnie on the 911 call and me answer questions. So, but we did a mock one and they didn't just pretend. They went all in and it was really good.
God, that makes me happy. I'm sorry.
Yes, that was my full body chills one.
I didn't know you. Thank you.
Yeah. We did it twice. So we're gonna try to do those more often, the things that we have. And we got new harnesses, so now they fit everybody.
Place that order today.
Yes.
Does it need different sizes?
Yeah, depending on weight, size. So shockingly, we had a Bailey one and a Dennis one, but one's a little old, so.
If I can add to that too, I thought it was cool that they made sure that they did the smallest member of the crew and the largest member of the crew so that they knew to adapt things depending on that. And I just.
Yeah, it was really very good.
Questions? Yes, trustee
I
Burns.
want to say that's great. That's awesome. And the shop's looking fantastic.
Yeah, if you guys ever swing by, it looks completely different.
We'll have a tour after, we'll have a tour after the election for sure. Get everybody, yeah.
I'm really glad to hear about confined space training, because that's something that, boy, especially with the sewers. If somebody goes down H2S or methane can knock you out in a split second. And
We also are ordering a new gas meter because ours is not okay.
H2S, 2 breaths and you're dead, so.
I see any comments or questions? Okay, I'm just making the rounds. I saw a hand.
Was the climb. She was climbing. She was climbing.
I was clapping.
So if you're good, trustee Torno, that was a clap?
Yes, I am. Yes.
That's great. I just see yellow and didn't realize. Cool. Okay. Thank you. Anything else? Yeah.
Would
trustee Hunt.
anyone else benefit from a quick break?
You know what? I was thinking the same thing. This sounds like to make a motion.
3-minute break. Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're not
I,
literally in favor.
I don't have a final.
We will move on to actions and presentations, and we do ask for public comments on each agenda item, and people are provided 3 minutes to come up and comment. And I know there's not many people in the audience, but I will ask at each item if anybody in the hall or online would like to make a comment. It'll get redundant, so I apologize for that, but that's what we do. So the first one is consideration of the final draft of the 2026 construction standards.
Yes, so we finally got them back. These have been submitted before, and it was last year, summer, spring, quite a while. We had an edit, went back, and then we ended up catching an edit. Fall last year, so this is the final draft. The only edit that we had was a definition of what the town is responsible for out of town and in town. In town, we're still responsible to the meter, whereas out of town, we're just responsible for the maintenance. So that has been fixed, it's on page 2. They did give me the red line draft. Okay, I was gonna say if you guys already got it, perfect. It's just a little late, but more huge changes, so you don't have to reread the whole, however many 100 some pages. It is. The service, yeah.
Okay.
That was it. Yeah.
So you are not adopting this tonight, right? This is it. What you're doing is you're looking to make sure that the changes that were requested were made. And it was reporting back after our consultants had finalized those documents, reporting back that they had been made. What'll happen is you'll, in a future meeting, most likely the next meeting, you'll get the first read of an ordinance that will remove this from the appendices of our code and instead say we have adopted such construction standards for water and wastewater, and it'll be a code change by ordinance. And then it'll reference kind of like what we did with the purchasing policy, where these standards may be adopted from time to time by resolution. And then that way we're not codifying 116 pages in an appendix of our code. Instead, it's being adopted by resolution, like we've done with our other manuals. What we'll do with this manual is it'll be housed on our website. Once it's fully adopted, it'll be housed on our website, probably under utilities, and then maybe even again referenced under construction standards, and then maybe even again within like our planning commission section, because this does have an effect on planned unit developments or large scale, subdivision development construction stuff. And so that's where these things, it'll be housed, or at least a link that goes to multiple places. What we're trying to avoid is codifying something that could be changed by resolution in 2 years because the statute changes or our standards have changed. And, then we're going through that whole thing again of recodifying. Instead, it's by resolution, like it should be. And I believe this one requires 2 reads because it's construction code.
Yeah, and I'm not, it has to have.
Right, so you might actually have this on an agenda twice, one for first read, one for second read. And there may be a public hearing. We'll get with Clay when it goes to the agenda.
Does it have to go to the planning commission?
These are construction standards. They don't have a say in construction standards. They wouldn't advise on a construction standard. But it would be something that if the planning commission needs to be aware of if and when a planned unit development or a large scale development comes before them for approval, they would have to be aware that the document exists. And that awareness comes from a well-crafted staff report. That thing is going to be doing it now.
Go ahead, trustee.
I just had one comment, a Scribner's error, if we could correct the zip code on the first 2 pages on the footer. Sorry, I go through life with a red pen.
That we can do quickly. Yeah.
That's an easy.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna ask if anyone in the audience would like to make any comments or anyone on Zoom. Seeing none. Okay,
I've got a comment on backfill. And we do have a section on flowable fill, and I would like to see that be more of a mandatory thing under street cuts and alley cuts.
do you have a page? Are you
Page
reading from
20.
somewhere?
If I get down to it. Page 19
Of the packet?
of the packet.
Okay.
Well, it's actually the final construction standards.
Are you in the packet?
Yes, it's
Okay.
the final construction standard.
Right, I know, but
They're on it right there. Here we go.
I'm just, okay,
And the reason being for flowable fill is even with the best compaction, we still get some subsidence. And then we get a dip in our street after we've paved it, then we have to repave. Flowable fill will eliminate that. It also eliminates the problem of backfilling while it's freezing weather. It generates its own heat once it's covered up. And if we backfill to within 2 feet of the water main, whatever we're at, we also know when we get down into that, that we're getting damn close to the pipe and we don't hit the pipe. If we make the standard a backfill of 2 foot above pipe, and that means that you have no more than 3 or 4 feet of backfill, and then backfill up to within a foot of the street level, the paving level. And that will eliminate a lot of problems in the end. The second street thing is one of them that we've had some serious problems with. But had we flow filled, that would have ended that.
could you maybe, I finally got to the page you're looking at. So are there things on this page that you feel like that it needs to be augmented with?
I would recommend that flowable fill in street cuts and alley cuts would be the preferred method.
So I don't understand.
Backfill.
So under D, flowable fill, are you saying this needs to be elaborated on? Or
It's
moved
an
somewhere
option.
else?
It is an option and on a case by case basis. I would prefer to see the recommended language that in street and alley cuts, that flowable fill is the preferred option. Because I've seen far too many backfilling incidents where it just doesn't get done perfectly.
So what isn't in here that you think should be? That's what I'm
The
trying to.
language on the top, it says at the town's option and by a case basis.
What is this?
You would like it to,
Utility trenches in
Just
street
98.
cuts and alley cuts.
page 98 of the packet.
Okay.
198.
And it's at
Oh,
50.
global fill. Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Right under flowable fill.
So you'd like to have at the town's option on a case by case basis
Not in
remove.
just utility trench, but in utility trench backfill in street and alley cuts. And that will eliminate some of our problems with Third Street, for example, when they did the sewer in there. All of that is a mess.
So maybe after that first whole sentence, kind of a run-on, says of width or depth, and then at the town's, we would say something like, at the town's option, or this would be used for streets and alleys, is,
I would put down that the preferred option for utility trench backfill in street and alley cuts would be flow fill.
so that would be the next sentence, then the preferred option for streets and alleys would be flowable fill.
Just our discretion. It's that is, we would like you to do that instead of having.
Well,
This could be easily updated, we could easily update this without sending it back to them. Because if we send it back to them, we'll get it in November.
yeah, I know. So that's the problem with this. This was my issue before too, that flowable fill is the preferred option in traffic. Anywhere you have traffic, and especially heavy traffic, truck traffic in particular. On truck roads.
Which is, okay, if, with that being something, can we get a motion with specific language? And I'm gonna ask you guys to take that down. Thank you very much. So that way we can add it.
I will make a motion for the
Oh.
language. Oh,
Wait a minute,
is approved.
no, I keep going. I couldn't remember. I'm losing my mind. Are we on our first item? We're on the first item and I already offered for public comment, so I'm sorry now. Okay, go ahead.
In part D of three, let me pull up and see exactly which number that is. In select bedding material 3.3.1. Part D, flowable film. The town's preferred option in utility trench backfill in streets and alley cuts shall be flowable fill from 2 feet above the utility to within a foot of the paving surface. Be flowable fill.
Okay, and that would be the new first sentence.
Yes.
Okay.
And then as a case by case option for other utilities, because in the wintertime, you can't backfill with frozen dirt. So that's the way you backfill a utility trench.
You have a motion.
I'll second that.
Well, you can't make a motion.
I thought he just did.
He did make a motion.
Oh, you did. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
I thought you were just
She was,
I thought you were thinking out loud.
he
Okay.
was being really perspective.
Good.
Yeah.
All right, then any more discussion? Except for me not knowing what's going on. Okay, all in favor?
I,
Aye.
Okay. All right, with that change and the other one, okay, great.
otherwise, this is very comprehensive and I realize it's been a monster. Thank you. I had to read it again. Oh.
All right, we are now moving to page 234 of the packet. For anybody trying to keep up with each item, and we are at item number 2, consideration of the town acquiring a police officer candidate employment contract. Chief Lamond.
Yeah, so, this report is really for information only. The police department currently has one opening for a post certified officer, and again, post certified is for the police officer standards for training, so we certified police officer in the state of Colorado. And we have a position up to that, and they adopt in 2026 budget accounts for this position. As this matter relates to personnel and dollar value from the administrator, treasurer approval authority limits, this process will be overseen by the administrator. The administrator's office, and this is really more informational for you guys.
Yeah, so this is this the one that goes to sheriff? Or is this the employment agreement with the actual employee?
This is the one we'll go to Delta County Sheriff.
Okay. So the reason you're seeing this is, number one, we wanted to make you aware of what's going on. You don't actually have to approve it. It is within my approval authority with cost. And then also it's personnel related. The reason you don't see a draft of this agreement in here, our attorney plays on, he can tell you he's reviewed it, it's good to go. But it's because it's a personnel matter and it's really, it's not like it's a contract for employment. It is a contract between the town and the sheriff's office to pay for the remaining balance of his post-education. So his police academy training, right? That's what we're doing. And that's just why it's in front of you, just so you're aware of what's going on. We wanted to be as transparent as possible while also protecting, being as confidential as possible for that individual employee.
Any questions from trustees? Any comments from the audience? And Karen, never mind, I won't ask, she put her hand up. Okay, with that, we'll just say thank you, because there's no motion needed, this is just informational, thank you. So moving on to number 3, consideration of IGA between Delta County Road and Bridge for center stripe painting, Director Polis.
So normally we have an IGA with the county for paving. We've kind of hit a point in our streets that we can't overlay anymore. So we've kind of gotten to a point where we don't have anything for them to pave. There are a few places that we could do it, but it needs prep work that we're not prepared for or budgeted for this year. However, we've had several complaints and will help PD as well if we paint the center stripes of Second Street and out Samuel Way Bridge. We don't have the equipment to do that. The equipment that we bought is more for parking lots and spaces and curbs and things of that sort. The real long stretches, it just looks like this because you're walking behind it. And to push that machine and fill it up 5 gallons at a time, wow. So the county is willing to do this for us. It will take them 15 minutes. So they are willing to switch the IGA from paving to painting this year.
This was a really good solution that Nikki had come up with her team. It completely makes sense. She's absolutely right. Every time we try to look at something to pave, I mean, you can already see it on Third, the crown that's, higher than the curbs. That's not a good thing. It is for positive drainage, but it's not a good thing for road surfaces. And we don't have milling equipment, which is required. If we wanted to do something at the bridge, we can put no more asphalt on it, or we will have a weight restriction, and that will kill these businesses downtown. So we can't do that. Instead, remember, we're going out for a grant for that as well, to get the work done that's needed there. Because that will it'll be all the way down to the deck of complete resurfacing. The equipment that the county does have, it's like a ride-on striper and or pull behind from a truck.
Guy sits in the back of the truck.
And it goes quick. And so the paint that they'll use is still safe, right? But it's
Same paint.
it's the
same.
It is the same or the same. So they're not using thermoplast, no glass beads, or excellent. But it will take them, like she said, 15 minutes.
And just to kind of piggyback off of that, there are 2 places that we could pave, however, they're larger than the IGA allows for. So that's why I said there are places we could pave, it's just larger than the amount allotted. So we're opting for this one because it's complaint driven as well.
And it makes sense not to do it this year since we have a federal highway grant for Safe Streets for All. We'll start prioritizing projects. It just makes sense to kind of go this route.
And they could probably do more if we needed them to, but those were the two places that really need it.
Trustee Tarnall, I'll have you go first.
Thank you. Nikki, can you just explain a little bit more about that we're not ready to do overlays because we don't have the milling equipment to do it. So what are the steps that are needed and to conquer some of the street issues? Is it equipment? Is it finances? How do you see some of the street issues being addressed over time?
I'll hand that over to Administrator Wynn because we've actually got something kind of in the works planning with that, so he'll take over.
Yeah, so it's a little more intensive than, and I'll give the background before you go into that. It's a little more intensive than that. We're at a point with all of our streets that we're talking full depth reconstruction. And so it's not just that you can simply mill. If you look at a lot of our streets, our sewer rings have shifted. They've been lifted up so many times. There's one that we get complaints about all the time on Third Street. But seriously, we're talking full depth reconstruction in a lot of our streets. And what that means is you're milling all of that asphalt out. You're taking out all of the underlayment, all of the stone, and you're going all the way down, in some cases, even past the utility lines that are running through the center of the street, and redoing the entire street from bare earth. And that takes design. So that's not something that we can design internally. I'm not an engineer. We're lucky to have one on the board, but it's way outside of our expertise. And so those things have to be designed. It'll stop that crowding that you're seeing. And in a lot of cases, when we go to start prioritizing these streets, do that planning with our Safe Streets for All, it'll also include curb and gutter, so a true stormwater plan, and then also in a lot of cases, adding sidewalk where it doesn't exist, or repairing really damaged sidewalks. So it's a bigger plan that we're just not ready to put into practice yet, because we don't have it to put into our capital improvement plan. Trustee Tarnow, what you'll see is with that capital improvement plan that we put together with this fiscal year's budget, we'll add something for streets. And so that list will grow, and then we'll plan them out as we move forward.
And to kind of add to that too, because of this being a little complaint driven as well, we cleaned all the gutters last year.
Yeah.
And then we ended up getting some complaints of when I step out of my car, the gutter is too deep. It's too far from the ground, which is exactly why we've overlaid the street so many times that it is more than a 12-inch drop to the ground.
Wow.
But we had to know what we had.
Right.
You know, we can't fix it if we didn't know what it was.
You removed trees from the.
Yeah, they have not been cleaned for so long that now we know. We've overlaid too much, so we gotta start.
Okay, thank you.
Any trustees have questions or comments?
Just a comment, for the streets, we're gonna have to redo our water mains and sewer mains that are in the streets as well. It's desperately needed, and that's another expense that's huge. The projects are gonna take a while. This isn't gonna happen next year at all. This may not happen for 5 years, but there it is. We're gonna plan for it. We're gonna make it happen as quick as possible.
So I think of it more like a 30-year plan. But also when we start having things planned in a CIP, a capital improvement plan, when we start putting, preliminary design to sections of street, that looks more favorable to granting agencies. And I think I would attribute a lot of our funding that we've received because we had shelf-ready projects or shovel-ready projects. We had design ready to go. And so granting agencies are more likely to fund those kinds of projects because they can see, the shovel getting dirty quicker, so.
And anybody in the audience want to make a comment? Anybody on Zoom? Yes, Marty, please come up, give us your name and if you live in or out of town.
Marty Darlin, I live in town where they put the new transformer at the top of Applebaum Hill. I'm just wondering about the water mains, because I thought I understood that we had overdone our streets here and that was a problem, but is it? I thought the biggest problem to repairing the streets now, aside from money, was that we hadn't done the plumbing underneath it. I'm just wondering if that's a true thing that I'm thinking, or if I mistakenly wrote that in the newspaper.
I'd say after the meeting, come and talk to Seth.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it depends.
We don't normally do a question, question
sorry.
answer.
Sorry.
You're thinking
So-
short-term rental.
So come on, talk to Stephanie.
All right, thanks.
And
That was it, just to switch the IGA from the.
I have one question.
I was just gonna make a motion.
I'm not ready quite yet. I just wanted to ask, for the financial responsibility, it says the town will pay 100% of the cost, but the town already has the paint. The town's gonna do traffic control. Are we gonna have to pay them for their 15 minutes and for them to come here? So,
Well,
it's
really,
really,
we get to that point, he also wrote it between May and November, I think. so.
yeah, 180 days, so 6
Yeah.
months. No, June, July, August, September, October,
Yeah.
November, yes.
And when I talked to John about, because we have the same paint, if they're already loaded up, they'll just paint it. Or we refill them, and or vice versa.
Right,
So that's why it's kind of a wash, he's like, this will literally take 15.
so it really won't cost the town anything that they've already spent, because we've already bought the paint. So it really, we're not gonna have to pay their labor and their time to get here.
No, that's part of that, okay, they do that, and then for traffic control. we'll talk to chief manager, probably just have patrol car in front of them. And they'll follow them, because it's in a, like a 90 Chevy pickup. And just follow it, it's pretty helpful.
And call me the stickler. I'm the one that said, "No, we need to make these changes. It can't just, it has to be formal." And Nikki got with county, got everything done, so.
Good.
I move to approve the change in IGA with Delta County Road to Ridge.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. That motion passes unanimously. Our next one, I'm sorry, is item number 4, ratification of the decision to extend construction inspection services with the city of Delta for another year.
Okay, I didn't write the staff report. Thina wrote it, or Dr. Backman. She really is paged. So, but she put this together. And what we're looking to do is extend our services. They automatically extend. And I gave the preliminary, yep, we're happy with the services for another year. Let's keep it going. And what you're doing tonight would be ratifying that decision. So that we can continue with the city of Delta being with our building inspector. I will say that Jason is also now inspecting some of our internal projects, like the Stewart ditch. He's gonna go look at steel and make sure it's put in per plan before they pour concrete. We've got him going to the teen center to start looking at some of the issues that we have with the teen center for safety, like the roof. So he's doing all of those things for us, as well as for each for building permits that come in. He's communicative. They're doing what they say. They don't bill us for months that services he doesn't come out for inspections. I mean, it's work.
Yes, trustee Hunter.
Comment on a question. I mean, I work in the building industry and I talk to a lot of builders and everybody's been really happy with them.
Excellent.
So, everything I've heard, I haven't heard anything negative. Everything I've heard is positive. Not meaning that he signs off on things, but he's easy to work with and he's reasonable. Question. The existing contract includes plan review. I know that we are hopeful. Are we remaining hopeful? And we're just gonna keep that in there?
Yeah, they're not ready to do plan reviews.
Right.
So we are still using Schum's Coda for plan review, and they are still our building inspector,
Plan reviewer?
the more important one.
Building official.
That one, building official, yeah, thank you. So they're still doing those kind of services for us. But again,
So I guess the question being, we want to keep the contract as it is to include the language for plan review in case, because I mean, Delta's just kind of perpetually looking to fill that position, right?
right,
So you want to keep 1A1I in there?
yes, please.
But we will have to make a new copy of this. Are you gonna wait out the dates on this?
No, so this just renews annually, and I've already given them to say, we are planning to renew it, and you are ratifying that decision to plan to renew it.
So there'll be something in the record that we.
Correct. And I'm not just shooting from here.
Yeah, only because it's so old, what we're seeing,
Right.
it was the original. So, okay, that was my other
Oh,
question.
do you want the actual citation number?
For,
Renews automatically.
Well, it looks like it renewed automatically last February
right,
because it said 1 year.
And then annually therein or something like that.
and it looks like it was on page 240. The initial term of the IGA shall commence upon execution by all parties through February 2025. That's how it reads to me. So what I didn't know, are you gonna have a new copy that talks about 2026? You're just gonna put the cover on it and say it was renewed as it was
What
renewed?
we'll do is we'll probably print the minutes out from whatever motion's made and just.
Yeah.
But okay. We're using Laserfish now for all of our contracts and agreements, and so we'll just add it. Yeah,
And there's no increase, they're not asking for more money?
they're not.
Other comments? Anybody in the audience or on Zoom want to make a comment on this issue? Okay, seeing none, thank you. All right.
I'd like to make a motion to ratify the decision to extend the construction inspection services with the city of Delta for one more year.
A second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that is unanimous. Thank you. Moving on to number 5, consideration of resolution 03-26, temporarily suspending the tree board while the trustees consider hiring a certified arborist consultant. Clerk Bed.
The staff report pretty much explains what has happened there. We don't even have a legal tree board at this point. That just happened. Terms didn't renew or weren't renewed, and we had a resignation as well. So but the last piece of business that we did with the tree board was asking for their input on putting together an RFQ to seek out a certified arborist to use as a consultant. So not doesn't mean that somebody we're necessarily calling every time there's a tree thing, but like to help Public Works with putting together those more long-term plans for like and maintaining trees, getting our canopy back in shape, planting, making sure all of our like suggested trees in certain places or somebody that we can call to help us with those projects that are really time extensive for volunteers on a board. Because especially since most of our volunteers on any of our boards tend to be very busy people, they're involved in a lot of things. So since we codified all of our board meetings and stuff like that, our code says that our tree board must meet once a month at a certain time. So that's why we're asking you to temporarily suspend that by resolution. Let us have staff a chance to get an RFQ together, get out there and see what we can maybe come up with along the line of arborists, and then revisit this once we get back to that point. The only things that we really have to worry about up until then, depending on how long it goes, is maybe an Arbor Day celebration. And there's a couple of other things, but I think that between staff and helpful board members, I think we can pull it together for a little while so we can get this in better shape. So that's what's in front of you there. Questions?
None? Comments from the audience or on Zoom? Okay, seeing none. Somebody ready for a motion?
I move to approve resolution number 03-2026.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you. Consideration of approval of change order number 1 for additional inspection hours for KLM Engineering Administrator Wynn.
Joe, this was cool. So this is our inspection engineer for the 2 million gallon tank relining. They haven't quite exhausted their hours. They have enough to go, I think, until Thursday of this week. And then what they're asking for is a change order for the hours to finish the project. Now, this isn't a lump sum, right? They will still continue to bill us if, for the hours they use. If they don't use all the hours, they're not going to bill us for it, right? So that's what this change order does. They said that it would take an additional 3 weeks to continue doing those inspection services at $1,568 per day, working day. We have a meeting tomorrow morning about the progress. They've been on site since Monday, and tank relining is back in.
Yes, Trustee Hunter.
I'm gonna ask the same question I always ask.
Yeah.
How are we sitting overall with the project budget, considering all the change orders to date, as well as looking at the disbursements and seeing an additional month of tank rental?
So we are still well below the next bidder. And I can show you what those costs are. Sam, so Sam has been working on BidNet to make sure that all of our public solicitations are closed and we show who's been awarded. And I think you did this one, didn't you?
And they're all done.
Thank you so much. What did you say, they're all done? Incredible, okay. So we are caught up with our public solicitation, so I can show you the bids that we received for our entire tank project. Maybe. Thinking. Okay, so you can see Markley's Precision Group had an original bid of $957,750. The next one, bid was about $1.5 million. We're still well under that by a couple $100,000.
Thank you.
Well,
Trustee Torno, go ahead. Trustee Torno, you're welcome to give us your questions.
Sorry.
Oh.
Yeah, Stefan, at our last meeting, I think you were just about to have a meeting with the, I don't know, the project lead on this project and have a very frank conversation about your expectations for their project management. I just wondered how that went, if you feel satisfied that they're going to provide the level of project management that you would like to see.
Do I feel satisfied? No. However, it was a pretty good meeting that we had. We really restated our expectations during that meeting. Right? With Klein? Yeah. So we restated those expectations. And then, was it last week we met with the guy that was on site for deliveries? And then, we have put it in writing, they know our expectations, and they also know that we're watching.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions, comments?
Just a comment, I am very reluctant to approve a change order that's a third more for their bid. I'm very unhappy that their bid was that far below what it's gonna cost. And I see this, we've had a delay, and this is both on the contractor as well as engineering. And I'm pretty unhappy about this. This project should have been done before we got to where it froze. So I will consider that in my decision.
Yeah, so, and as you guys are, I think I've relayed this to you that, yeah, we do have issues. We did have issues with, our contractor mowing on site, doing work without the inspector present. And then, the inspector did have to come on site, review that work before they really mowed and got rocking and rolling. But, there were also some delays with the temporary tank, taking the existing tank offline before they really started. And so that's why you had a change order from the first change order was for days for Markley's. And this is just a catch up for the inspection services that Markley's Precision Construction, had from that first change order, number one. And so please consider that as well. I will say this, we have to have an inspector on site to finish the project to meet the conditions of CDPHE. And none of us here are coatings experts. We can't look at dehumidification, heating, adherence inside the tank or outside the tank. And that's what this inspector is doing. I will say that this inspector has also provided inspection reports for every day that they were on site. And those we can pull off and put into our own Laserfiche repository.
Anything else, trustees? Anyone in the audience like to make a comment on this or on Zoom? Okay, seeing none, I just wanted to point out on the second page of the agreement, which is 248 of the agenda packet. The agreement between the Landmark Resort and KLM Engineering needs to be fixed. So it says the agreement between the town of Bayonne. Which I'm assuming you can just cross out and, okay. So
Yeah,
with that.
So what we'll do with that is what we've done with some of our other contract agreements, where we've agreed to a lower limit of insurance. We've allowed a strikeout, a writing, both parties okay and date with initials. We'll do the same thing with this one.
Are you ready to make a motion?
I move to approve change order number 1, an amount not to exceed $32,935 with the aforementioned change to the contract language.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you. Moving on to item number 7, consideration of the ad hoc short-term rental committee's request for funds for a facilitator for their meetings.
Wait a second, I didn't submit this. Somebody submitted. Oh, thank you. You're welcome. Okay, so we had we're back on a normal cadence with our short-term rental committee. And what we've asked is, and this report is now a little outdated from information I got today from Kathy. So, but what we're looking for is a facilitator to help with really gathering that public input and, taking the spaghetti that goes on a wall and ordering it in a way that we can, start making the policy decisions on or start to craft a policy. I learned today that Kathy, she can't do it. But we both had the same idea, and I talked about it at our short-term rental committee meeting. Perhaps Scott Brown, who did a strategic planning session for the town in 2022, was kind of part of that Phoenix Rising Resources program at the beginning for comprehensive plan. And she had the same thought with Scott Brown, who is local, who is a good facilitator, could be somebody that we would reach out to. And what they're asking for, or what the committee is asking for, is that we pay a facilitator to help us with taking that spaghetti and, putting some order to it.
Comments? Yes, trustee Hunter.
How much pay?
I don't know.
I guess that's, my biggest question.
Right, so we can afford to do some things, but I think what would determine how much would be how long this facilitator would be involved with the process. And, we never got to that point in our committee to talk about how long this may take. But the first thing, what we wanted to see, Mayor Pro Tem Stelter, correct me if I'm wrong, is that we wanted to see if the board was even open to hiring a facilitator. We thought, I kind of pushed for it as well, that if it were Kathy, we don't want her to do it for free. We don't want to pay her. And so that's kind of where that is. We're asking if there's even the stomach to pay a facilitator before we start, reaching out to different.
So in my mind, I think it's a great idea. I think it's a difficult subject. I think that would be helpful. I think it's a smart move. But I'm also not into approving paying for things without knowing how much they are, so.
So what we. Oh, sorry.
There's a hand.
Okay, I saw it. Yeah, please, please. So with that, with cost, we're not just gonna go out and go, okay, you're gonna do it. We'd have to bring back some sort of an agreement. But we think our goal was that at our next meeting, we would know where the board is kind of sitting with this. So then we could, really have that deeper conversation about it.
So are you looking for a motion tonight, or are you just taking temperatures?
I think we need a motion to say, yeah, if you guys are interested in a facilitator okay, and then maybe be prescriptive about a motion to say, you know, we're open to it, but we want more of a plan from the short-term rental committee.
Trustee Torno?
Yeah, I'm wondering what the selection process would be. I'm guessing this doesn't rise to the level amount where it requires a RFQ, or is this something you can go to a direct hire? Kathy can't do it, Scott's a known quantity. But there also could be other, qualified and experienced people in town. And so I'm just wondering, would you just go and see if Scott's willing and able, or look for other people raising their hand to do it, or other recommendations for facilitators that might be good at the work?
Yeah, so I'm really speaking for the committee. However, we are a consensus committee. So I would take this back to it's so much different than any of our other committees, because we're trying to do things through consensus. So there's that added element to it. But I would take that back to our committee and say, I mean, personally, I'm gonna push, I'm gonna make the case for Scott Brown, not knowing that if he's even interested.
What does he charge?
And what he charges. But to reach out to him, I would consider that, this wouldn't rise to the level of needing a full-blown request for qualifications. At the minimum, we would follow our purchasing manual, and we would probably need 3 quotes. And then if we didn't go that route, and we say, let's say Scott was open to it, wants to do it, or somebody else within the community who's a known facilitator wanted to do it or could do it, we would put before you the 8 questions for sole source purchasing that we've done before in other or other things. We really want to see if you're open to a facilitator, and I think I'm looking at Marty because she was at that meeting too, but I'm really thinking that we find a facilitator to be very valuable to this process as a committee. I don't think I misstated that.
Yeah, I also agree that it can be very helpful. I guess I'll just put out there that I know of someone who's been very effective at facilitating another board retreat with very good feedback from the people participating in that. So if you are looking for other potentially qualified people in the community, I'd be happy to share that information.
I think that would be excellent. I take it back to our committee again and get that consent. Mayor Pro Tem Stelter will get that consensus because he's heading it.
I feel that a professional facilitator would make this process actually work and work efficiently. I have no training whatsoever in facilitating anything. I can run a meeting, but it's more like just keep it in line. The facilitator can actually help get our viewpoints merged, and that's what we need. We have such disparate viewpoints, not only on the board, but in the community. And we really need to get this moving well. The thought was that we would get something maybe by the first of next year. And that's kind of where we put it at. That was the consensus.
But, so I have a couple thoughts, but I don't want to jump in front of anybody.
No, I just think trying to find consensus among some who are just opposed to any sort of the short-term rental regulations is going to be the problem, because there will always be those people who say, I don't like what you're saying. And so I don't see how you overcome that, even if you have a facilitator. If there's some people in the community who are so opposed to it that they will do whatever they can to stall a short-term rental ordinance.
Could one of
And I
you-
don't know the answer to that, so.
Could one of you describe it's only the committee members who are voting. Is that right?
Yes,
Okay, so you can take input from the public, but the public doesn't have a vote.
Right.
Is that right? Okay, just, I kind of wasn't.
But there is a couple
Yeah.
members of the community on.
Right, right. Yes, there are.
opinions.
Yeah, no, I get that. I just wanted to clarify that the people in the audience don't have to say. So I have three things. The first is, I've gone back through the housing needs assessment and the comp plan. To me, it's not a question of will the town regulate STRs? We have to regulate STRs. That was the thing that the biggest thing we heard from the public in terms of housing availability was to regulate STRs. We heard that multiple times. It's the first goal in our housing needs, our housing action plan. The first thing we should do is regulate STRs. And both of those projects were from public money coming from the state because the state is so concerned about housing everywhere. So we have committed to having short-term regulations. So I would like your committee to make that clear to everyone. Don't spend time on that issue. You need to start from we are regulating. And so I have done rulemaking for my career. And I have to tell you, you don't go in with an open slate. You start your discussion about, in this case, ordinance with a template. I would recommend you bring in the existing ordinance and use that as your starting point. There are parts of that that can stay, but there's parts of that are where all the issues are. And I feel like you need to identify what are the issues and start prioritizing those. But you cannot just sit down with a group of 5 people and say, what are you worried about? I really recommend you bring that ordinance in there and start from that. And I'm concerned about an open-ended checkbook for this. I feel like you need a deadline, and I'm not comfortable with the end of this year. With 2 meetings a month, and I'm concerned about Stefan's time. This is a lot on Stefan and you as a volunteer and the other volunteers. I think you need to set up some sidebars at the very outset as to how you're going to proceed with this. And that'll give you a better idea of how much time would you need a facilitator for. So those are my comments as a previous rulemaker. Okay, and I have trustee or Clerk Vetter has her hand up.
If I could, Mr. Parliamentarian, ad hoc committees generally have a deadline, a date certain set by the body that created them. And they always have some kind of end date. And I know a lot of things happened, and so we didn't have a chance to do that. And the original one was, all right, let's find the 2 community members. And then just as things got going, unfortunately, we've had something that kind of put it on hold for a little while. So that might be something that you consider, because you really got to have something in there, or looking for something substantial by a date.
So, you're everyone. But you gotta remember the makeup and the way that this committee has chosen to operate is consensus based. So I, as a member, am just one of those 5 that have to come to a consensus. So I can't go, this is what the board said, you gotta do it. Knowing with what Clerk Vetter just said, I think there might be some motions. Because at the heart of this, the STR committee is an advisory committee. And so I think we're giving you feedback. We're telling you what we need to be successful. And I think that, that the right way to do it is for you to give us feedback and tell us where to go. I can't do that as an individual member because of the consensus.
I'm going to open any of the 3 of you in the audience and anybody online that would like to come up for 3 minutes and comment. Ethel, right? Maybe you'll give us your full name and whether you live in town or out of town. Ouch.
Ms. Ethel Short, I'm in town. My question is, are you just voting on whether to acquire a facilitator? That's all you're voting on right now?
We're not going to answer. This isn't a back and forth when you make a comment. We appreciate. Right, well, anyway, we'll talk about it. How's that? We'll make it
Okay.
clear. Because right now, it is request for funds for facilitator.
Because I've had a lot of experience as a facilitator, and I also have had a lot of experience as a short-term rental person that rented and that had rentals. And that still has them. And I was planning on coming to the meetings. But I don't necessarily want to get involved on a board.
The board has already been decided.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's what I didn't understand and need clarification on. So I can come to the meetings like I come to these. Right? Okay. Good. Thank you.
Yes. Or, yeah, it's you. Come on.
Already there, live in town, been to all these meetings. First of all, I don't think there's anybody on the committee who doesn't believe that we need some sort of regulation. I think it's a matter of degree and just to say that, and I really believe a facilitator could be helpful, very much so. You've already spent a lot of money on this and a lot of time. You got pummeled in the vote. There's clearly some stuff out there that despite what those housing needs assessment, blah, blah, all of that said, you've got a community that either there's a major misunderstanding or something that needs to be straightened out. And I really think it's to the town's benefit greatly to find a good facilitator to help this process through. I think it's a brave, bold committee, and I think this could make it work. It would be really a triumph if you could wrench something out of this.
Well, thank you. So, it sounds like maybe, I don't know, more discussion?
I'm ready to make a motion if the board's ready for it.
Okay. Wait a minute.
I've got my hand.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see that. And trustee Tarno, hang on one second. I'm
Sure.
going to let trustee Check is wanting to make a comment as well. I'll come to you next.
Thank you.
I just had a question about, we want to make some terminal date or something that they have to come back to the town council with their recommendations by, certain date. 90 days or 180 days or something, instead of giving them another year to discuss this recommendation. So I hope there is some date less than a year away.
Hang on one second. I think if, I'm gonna have trustee Tarno talk, but I think if, and clerk veteran correct me if I'm wrong, but trustee Hunter can make a motion and it can die for the lack of a second, or it can be seconded, and then I think there can be more discussion. Is that correct on the motion? If it gets a second, can it have more discussion?
Yeah, it can die for a lack of a second, or it can even, you guys can even vote against it.
Well, no, my question, I want to make sure that if we have a motion and it's seconded, can there then be continued discussion about that motion?
Yes.
And then the motion can be
Restated.
if it's seconded, it could be restated, it could be rescinded.
It can be amended.
Okay, that's what I wanted to make clear, that just because a motion is out there doesn't mean we stop discussion. Okay, and trustee Tarno, your comment?
Thank you. I think it all comes down to the motion. It seems like we want to provide some direction with how the sideboards on how this funding could be used and some kind of a not to exceed amount in it. And if at the point that it does seem to need more funding, there'd have to be another request or something. So I would be happy to hear what I believe trustee Hunter was going to make a motion with, and then take the discussion from there.
I have a question for trustee Check. Just I guess, and or better, are we, the date you're speaking about, are you talking about specifically with respect to the facilitator? Okay, that was the question. So just in preface, my motion is gonna be non-specific as far as amounts. It's gonna provide them what they need to move forward and give us more information to approve. It's kind of where I'm going. Okay. See if it sticks.
Clerk Banner has her hand up. Hang on.
Suggestion. So if you're gonna do something like that, just a suggestion, you know, just so we stay on track with the agenda too, if you were to, I don't know exactly how the committee works, but if you were to say, you know, you wanna have more information on the facilitator or whatever, along with your motion by the next board meeting, then we could also advise if you guys wanted to discuss further about, you know, helping put
Thank you.
stuff in place. To maybe help, so that they can do what they're gonna do if they're gonna get a facilitator, but still have a time to work towards that they need to be coming back and at least bringing you guys something.
So it could be refined later.
Yes, if that's included in the motion, I think that'd be the best way to do it, because then you can have a better discussion on what you actually want that committee to go forward with from there, with more information and an idea of what you could realistically expect.
I'll take a stab at
Good, thank you.
it. I move to approve directing staff and the short-term rental ad hoc committee to move forward with obtaining a facilitator to be selected by the committee and to provide a draft contract or fee arrangement to be brought to the Board of Trustees for approval at a later date. And I would like to see this discussion as an agenda item on the next Board of Trustees meeting.
I'll second that.
I have an ethical question for our town attorney, if I could. As I am on the ad hoc committee, is it ethical for me to vote on this? As I have a bit of a conflict of interest. In my opinion.
Well, please explain what you think the conflict of interest is.
Well, it would benefit me to vote for a facilitator for the short-term rental committee. And I'm just having a question whether I should abstain or not.
Is it because you're concerned about your involvement being on multiple, being on a cross committee sort of situation?
Yes.
So it's a pretty typical problem, and I do understand. It's great that you went there immediately because it shows transparency and ethics and your thought process. One of the issues that we see, for example, like say in the Board of Trustees, is that there's multiple ad hoc members of the that they're assigned to multiple ad hoc members of the, like say, Planning Commission. And often, for example, you're on the Planning Commission and you're making votes that are going to be, or casting votes that are going to be appealed and or reviewed by yourself as a trustee of the Board of Trustees. And that's long been determined in the state of Colorado to be an ethical practice. In fact, the statute requires that there's multiple ad hoc members of the Planning Commission that are also sitting trustees. And so in this situation, even though you're cross-committed, it's not per se unethical or creates a conflict. If you believe that you cannot be objective and make the decision, then you can state that and remove yourself from one or the other of the committees, but it's not per se unethical. And if you can be objective and look at the facts and circumstances as a committee member and then make a determination on the higher, as a higher member of the board, then it's not technically unethical, nor is it, discouraged or disallowed by any law, regulation, or case within Colorado.
Thank you.
Can I ask the town attorney a question? Hey, Clay, it's Sam. I'm just curious, if trustee Stelter were to abstain, that would make less than a quorum of voting members for this. Is that an issue or not?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have a quorum, you can't make decisions.
Okay, I was pretty
So,
sure, but I wasn't 100%.
Yeah. So I mean, and you have to, and in practice, you should have a really good reason why you are abstaining. And I understand the question and the issue, but again, unless there's a stated personal conflict or that or a trustee just cannot make an objective decision for some other reason, then there'd be no requirement that for the abstention.
So with that, is it time to vote?
Uh,
We have a motion and a second.
Trustee Turner.
A little more discussion.
Sure.
I wonder if, Trustee Hunter, I thought that was a very good motion. I'm just wondering if it might be helpful to add a couple of other specifics in what we want them to bring back, such as, an estimate of, the amount of time, facilitators' time that might be needed to complete their work.
The motion did include a contractor fee amount. It didn't include hours.
Would you like us to read it?
Sam is asking if we'd like it read back. It would help me to hear it back. Trustee Turner, would it help you if you heard it again too?
I think so, but I guess all I'm thinking is if we could ask or let the committee members know that we would like their thoughts on, or some realistic projection on or estimation on how much time it might involve. Granted, I mean, it's just kind of a little bit of a stab in the dark, but if they could participate in even putting some sideboards on themselves for how they would like to move forward on how much time they want to put into this, it might be helpful to the ongoing discussion.
If you would read it back, it would help. I know it would help me understand what we have in front of us. Thank you.
There's a motion to approve directing staff and the short-term rental ad hoc committee to move forward with obtaining a facilitator to be selected by the committee and to provide a draft contract or fee arrangement to be brought to the Board of Trustees for approval at a later date. And to see this discussion as an agenda item on the next Board of Trustees meeting. And it is mentioned that there is a second on this.
There was a second.
Yes.
Okay.
Call question.
Yeah. All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. And we have one more item, and it is consideration of approval of agreement with Net2 Phone Business Communications for the town's phone systems. Town Clerk Vetter will describe this.
We're gonna finish with something fun. So, Deputy Clerk Santiago will be helping me with this one because I and him both attended the demonstrations. So our IT provider that we're getting ready to move to, Astonish, helped us by setting us up with some vendors that they work with to solve our phone problem. Because our phones and our phone system is the one thing that is a service through Phones Plus. It's not a part of our IT stuff. It's a separate thing. So we had to solve that. And we use our phone a lot. I don't know how often all of you hang out in the town offices, but they're always ringing. So Deputy Clerk Santiago and I, we met, we went through a demonstration. And man, these things are everything that we were like crossing our fingers we could get and a whole lot more. They're a Front Range company. I did include the features in there, but everything from, one of the things that we've really been wanting to do is like have a certain message that plays when we're closed. Somebody calls after business hours, letting people know, hey, usually you called after business hours, you know, if it's an emergency, do this, otherwise we open blah, blah, blah. We can have a completely different message for, hey, we're closed today to observe President's Day, you know, if you have an emergency, blah, blah, blah. And I mean, and this, we can control it all ourselves through a very easy to use portal. Where in the past, whenever we have somebody who changes a desk, we get a new employee, we need to set them up with an extension, we'd have to go through our service provider. Now it's something that we can do ourselves and it's not hard.
It was so hard to get the change. So when you called and said, welcome to the town of Peonia,
And
it drove me nuts.
one of the things I think, well, probably everybody but the people who are the first people that should be answering the phones are really excited about the rest of us, is that our phones aren't gonna ring unless they need to. That it's either going to, because it's transferred to us, or because the people, it'll ring in order. So, you know, our people who normally answer the phone, it's gonna go to them. If they're not available, then it's gonna go through a set list, so that I'm gonna know I can turn my ringer back on. Because I'm gonna know that when the phone rings, it's something I need to answer, because it's either for me or staff at the front house needs help, you know, answering phones. The PD is gonna have a lot more freedom with their phones and their recordings. And they set us up on just the very essential thing. This is like their lowest package. Like I'm not even gonna have a phone on my desk. Mine's gonna actually go through my computer. It's also an app that can install on our town cell phone, so we can actually answer like people calling our desk if we're out in the field, if an engineer is trying to get a hold of Nikki and she's out doing something, she can still take that call. And unlike forwarding that doesn't tell you who it is, you know, it'll go. So it is a little bit more expensive. I try to be honest about that. But we all think it's well worth it.
Is this the updated?
Huh? Oh, yes, and our voicemails will go to text too, which I don't know about the rest of you, but I find it way easier to go down the list. Because there's nothing worse than everybody, I do the same thing. I'm just as bad about it. I always give my phone number last. And so, you know, when I've come back from vacation before and had over 10 voicemails, and almost every single one of them, I never get that number written down the first time, so I have to repeat it, listen to the whole message back through. So this is a really good solution. Like I said, they're another Colorado business. Astonish has actually worked with them before. They can very highly recommend it. And I haven't heard anybody on the staff say, no, let's go check somebody else out. I think this is something that will be very beneficial.
So we'll get a conference phone as well, so,
Okay.
you know, instead of trying to yell into my cell phone or yell into my desk phone, we can have it around our conference table.
We're all excited about different things.
Yeah, and I'm most excited that Deputy Clerk Santiago has agreed to be the voice of.
The voice of Paonia.
So I'm excited.
So, and as you can see, I know you also see that this is something that we've already accepted and is coming to you because it is a multi-year agreement. So this is a 3-year agreement. We could do less, but if we do less, the price is gonna go up. Since, I mean.
Less years.
Yeah. And our new IT people have already been so impressive and they're still just in the onboarding process that quite honestly, I pretty much like anybody they recommend at this point. I think this is a really safe bet to go through too. There's a lot of businesses around here that, not around here maybe, but they use them and I think it's well worth it. What about you?
Comments, questions?
The voice of Paonia agrees.
Okay, be famous.
You know, I feel like the most important question is who gets to pick the hold music.
We will change by season.
Well, yes, no, yes, it's defense, guys. We have a new doorbell ringer. It's got much better music than the old one. He's making
Yes.
better choices. It's okay. It's okay.
Any comments from the audience? Or, let's see, okay. All right, so did this need a motion? Or?
Yeah.
Did it, sorry.
Yeah, I think we would like, I think it definitely needs one because it is a multi-year contract that you guys approved that.
Do we have a cheat sheet?
Yeah, I wrote something in there.
I'm getting back to it. Oh,
Page 250.
thank you.
I was gonna say, yes, I actually wrote one.
Yes, you did. You did. Would like to make a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the agreement with net to phone business communications for the town's phone systems.
I'll second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you. And we do have a report from the ad hoc committee. It is at the last page, 265. Page. And I don't know. You would like to talk about it?
So what we realized at our last SGR committee meeting was that the board hasn't seen the survey results that went out after our last meeting in September of 25. And so this is just it was that long ago, yes.
But there weren't many. I'm surprised it was only 18.
18 respondents.
And was that the one that was on the header?
It was,
Yes.
yeah.
I was one of them, really? Only 18.
Only 18 respondents. Yeah, and we pushed out through every means place. But September, I don't know, maybe just, I don't know. But we're gonna continue to try to gather more public feedback. We just wanted to present to you what was put in those survey, what respondents have said in those surveys. This was written, just summary was written by Thina, who has experience with institutional review boards for actual, like, real research heavy surveys. And so she removed bias as best as she could, putting in, what their summary was. So I want to let you all know that she has IRB experience, which is huge. And then, those like respondents were kind of all over the place, from no regulation to, oh, we want no short-term rentals, and then everything in between. And yeah, there were some people had suggestions. I think Crested Butte was in here at one point, yeah. That they didn't want to be like Vail. We don't want to be like Vail or Crested Butte with regulation. But then at the same time, there were respondents that wanted regulation, maybe even no short-term. So, that's kind of what this is. So everybody can see. I proved that. She was also going to work on other surveys, so to keep it so that there's no bias, and be as IRB friendly as possible.
Nice skill to have in town hall. Wonderful.
Taking so much off my plate.
What was it?
Sorry.
Looking at your disbursements. Oh, gosh.
Oh, you're trying to adjourn the meeting.
Sorry. Oh, gosh. We will sign it anyway, so any comment while the signing is going on, any comments or anything on the STR committee report? Karen, I don't know what time zone you're in, but I bet it's later.
Just an hour.
Oh, okay, that's not too bad.
Neil, are you gonna take a comment on this?
Oh.
I don't know, it's not an action item, it's more of a.
I don't know, what do we do?
Historically, you haven't. But that doesn't mean that you can't change our future if you want to.
Okay, but right now, for tonight, recommendation?
That's for me.
No, I started looking past you and.
Yeah.
For a bit.
I think, since something like this has already been on the agenda, I mean, my personal recommendation would be no, it gives people a chance to read it and come back for public comments. The next meeting, or even write into town staff or their elected officials.
Or attend the committee.
Or
Yeah,
take a survey.
Okay, and the committee meetings are open.
Yeah, so I guess I should say committee meeting is next week at 5. Right here. So we'll have that, we're in that same rhythm, that same cadence that we were before, everything kind of.
So your regular meetings, just to clarify, are the first and third Tuesdays of every month at 5 o'clock.
I thought it was Tuesday, Thursday.
It's now Tuesdays.
That was to get us back on the rails. That basic training.
Okay. With that, I will adjourn the meeting. To everyone.
Night, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Blake. Bye, Karen.
Bye-bye, bye-bye, good night.